Kelly from Keltrack. Today I'm going to go over my IRS Posi-Lock system for the S550 Mustangs. This is basically going to be similar to like a cradle bushing lockout kit or a subframe support system or an insert kit from other companies. I've been tinkering with these S550s since the moment they were available, and I really wanted to bring a simple, nice kit to market that's affordable and that's a little bit different than the rest. So I'm going to start the video with a quick, basically orientation, a quick installation overview for those who are watching this video to install the product. I'm not going to be printing instructions and sending them in all my kits. I'm basically going to take the product, do a video like this, go over a quick installation overview, technical overview, and that's it. Lowbuck Productions, cardboard boxes. My new pool heater showed up, so I'm filming it on that with some lights hanging from the ceiling. Nothing fancy here, just products that work. So real quick, let's jump into where these go, and I'll give the installer a couple tips when they're installing this, and then after that, again, I'm going to go over some benefits and everything else. So first, this is the S550 subframe or cradle. This is the rear. So these are the rear diff bushings. This is the rear sway bar mounts here. These are the rear subframe bushings. I just have these here. Ignore these. These are just to simulate the chassis when I install these and show you some information. Your camber links are here. Your toe links are down there. Your arms. This is the front. So on the front of the S550, you have the plates that go to the chassis. So that's going to be down here. I'm going to make this short and sweet on the installation side. So what I do when I do this type of installation is I don't really jack the car up, take the wheels off, and do all that stuff. I don't even take the wheels off. I'll take my car and I'll back it onto ramps. And you can legitimately do all this by doing, you could back your car up on ramps, crawl under it, and install this in 20-30 minutes. There's 4 large blue bolts that hold this to the chassis. One here, one here, one here, and one up here. Okay, so when you get this in the air, no matter how you do it, jack it up, remove the wheels, back it up on ramps, you're going to do, my suggestion is to do one at a time. So do the fronts, for example. So we are looking towards the front of the car. This is going to be the driver side front part of this cradle, passenger side front. So when you get it up in the air, loosen the bolt down, take the plate off, take the 2 bolts in the chassis out, and basically you're going to drop this down. You're going to unthread this bolt until it comes out, and then just to be safe, thread it back in a couple threads. On the other side, do the same thing. Take the bolt out slowly, and then what's going to happen when you take that out is it's going to rest on this side. This bushing is going to rest on it, so you're going to have a gap up here. So you're going to drop the front of the cradle down. If you need to loosen the rear bolts up, go ahead and loosen those up. But moral of the story is you can do one corner at a time. Lower the fronts down a little bit, put them on, then you're going to lower the backs down when you get done with the front. So let me just show you how they go. It's very, very, very easy. So when you have the, first of all, in the kit, this is the rear lower. The thin ring is going to be the rear upper. The 2 thicker, say 1/4 inch roughly, thick, are both for the front. So the way this works is when you take this bolt out and this comes down, this serration right here, this meets the chassis. So the way this works is once you drop it down, you take your bolt out, you put this on top. It's the perfect diameter of the stock bushing. It fits this tight, doesn't move. It will compress. See it compressing in the video? Okay? It compresses just enough to compress this rubber to make it almost solid, and then this will again touch the chassis when you torque these bolts down. The factory bolt is 129 foot-pounds. My stud kit is 120 foot-pounds. So let me go ahead and show you this. So you lower this bolt down, you put this on top, the chassis is going to be here, you put it on top, give it a wiggle, make sure it doesn't move. On the bottom, you take the larger ring, you put it on the bushing, and you just pull it, you just push it and it sticks. So it will legitimately just stick there, okay? Install, do the same on the other side, top, bottom, reinstall the plate and the bolt, torque it. Don't do that yet. Torque, I'm going to throw that out there real quick. Torque all the bolts at the end. Once you get everything installed and kind of snugged in, then go 129, 129, 129, 129, or if you have my stud kit, 120, 120, 120, 120, after it's all done. So that's done. That's it. Now on the back, this is the part that throws some people for a loop. So you can go ahead, you have both of your fronts done. Okay, I'm going to put this over here. So let's just simulate that the fronts are done. Okay, so now and don't hesitate to use your jack on areas to jack this up if you went too far and you can't get the bolts threaded. But these are on, so you're done. You put the plate on, you put the 2 bolts in the chassis, you put your bolt in here, just kind of snug it up, and then maybe leave a little bit of a gap on both sides so you can move the back of the cradle around. Now when you're on the back, I want to show you this. This is the difference between my system and everything else on the market. This is my rear lower bushing. All right. This is going to replace the factory lower bushing stop, is what it is. Okay. I'll get into a little bit of tech, but I'm gonna try to keep it as simple as possible. So this is the factory bushing stop. So the way this works is there's the bushing, there's the stop. So that solid 5/8 of an inch here is how much this thing will move up and down if you don't have any type of like reinforcement on this. Okay. This piece right here actually pops out. So instead of the other kits, one of the kits that I pretty much was over the design of has a stainless piece that comes, it supports this, it comes down and over and goes back up. It's a decent design for a cost-effective design. And then another company has a design that you slide it in here, you slide 2 rings in, 2 half rings, and you thread them together and it just wedges that. So really the goal here is to close that gap up. Because if you close that gap up, then this can't compress. So when you accelerate, it can't drop down like this like it does, okay? And it won't bounce. So what I do is I make you remove this and replace it with mine. Now, I like my design because I also have this little lug in here that helps square the cradle up. So this squares the cradle, and then these pieces here support that gap right there. So let me just show you. I'm going to go to this side since I've already done it when I was designing these products. I kind of hammered it back on. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a pry bar or any method that you see necessary, and you're going to use this little area right here. You can see where I had done it at one point when I was taking this off to design the kit. So basically, you have a pry bar, and you're going to go all the way back to here. Look at that. See how I scratched that? That's because I had the pry bar in there. And then when you pry it, you just keep on doing it, and then it'll pop off. Okay? That's exactly what it looks like. That's just fused in to that sleeve. You take it off, and this is why all of the insert centering sleeves are different diameters in the rear and the front. The bushings are all the same diameter, but this is a little smaller so it can press into that. So that's why those companies have different diameter sleeves. So once you get them in there, there's a void in there because they're not the full diameter, they're the smaller diameter. So that being said, that's one of the reasons I also do this for you, the end user, so you'll have something back here, okay? You could actually take any kit on the market and you could use my kit, just these rear pieces. I may offer that as an upgrade down the road for some of the kits that may bend the stainless or whatever. But so let me go ahead and finish this up for you guys installing it. So you're going to pry that off. You're going to pry this one off. And then at that point, look how beautiful this fits in here. So again, here was the factory one. And then here is mine. It's perfect. It fits in here. It supports the front. The front and the back. So that's what it looks like when it's installed. Okay, so now you have this on the top. All you take is the thinner one and then you put it on the top, just like the previous one. So that's going to be on the top. Make sure you can't move it, because sometimes people tighten things and they get, you know, like this and stuff, and they make noise. Anytime somebody installs a kit like this and has squeaking or noises, it's almost always because they wedged something wrong or something didn't, you know, go in right. So you got that there. You're replacing this with this. Centering lug, supports for the bushing goes in. Then you're just going to take your bolt, put it through. Now I'm going to show you the difference also. It'll be a lot quicker if I just go get a flashlight so I can show you guys this. So there's the factory setup. You see that? There's the factory. And then here is the Kel-Trac Polylock system. Sorry, I'm working on some poly parts too. Alright, so see in there? So then this, just to kind of show you an idea of how that works. That bolt comes up in there. There's a little bit of movement because I learned this when I was at BMR. If you make things too tight, sometimes people can't install them because this center line of this bushing on every corner doesn't always match the center line of the inserts in the chassis. So basically it's going to come up and it's going to center it just like that into the rear. So again, on the rear, dope. This is what you're going to have. It's going to be like this, the thin one on the top that you see, and the bolt's going to go right up through. So it's either going to look like this. Oh shoot, you know what? Forgot that I had this bolt on here. Alright. So it's either going to look like that, man, where is my head today? There we go. Or that. So that is basically it. I'm going to go over this real quick again. So rear lowers goes on the bottom, the lug goes up into the bushing, rear uppers, the thinnest sleeves, top, front, 1/4 inch thick, 1/4 inch thick, both on the top, on the bottom. Oh, that's what fell earlier. On the bottom is going to be these 1/4 inch thick rings here. Okay, so when you tighten this down, I'm going to show you real quick what it does. Now that you guys that we're trying to install it, finish your install up. That's how they go on. Now I'm going to get into the tech. So we'll start at the front. The way this front bushing works is, I'll do it over here. So the way this front bushing works is that under braking and under acceleration, it moves a lot. All right. So when it's mounted to the chassis right here, this digs into the chassis. So when it's mounted to the chassis, you're going to have a gap here. So that gap is roughly going to be the same thickness as that. You see it raise a little bit? It's because it'll compress. There's a little bit of rubber. That's actually metal. There's a little bit of rubber on top of this metal. So that's what this ring does, right? So boom. Now you just filled that. So now you don't have any movement. That 1/4 inch of movement when you accelerate, if you watch the lethal video that I did, I showed them how there's witness marks of this piece right here hitting the chassis. And it will, this will go up a good 1/4 inch and it smacks the chassis and it causes the cradle to bounce around. So again, that goes on the top. You've eliminated all your movement there, period, all of it. When you put this on the bottom, so the factory has a plate that sits like this up, you know, it torques up against this. And so you have all that, this room here, just about the same amount as you have up there. So what that does is under heavy braking, the cradle will dive. It'll dive like this. The back goes up, the front goes down. And so it's again that amount right there, which is that perfect amount. So this goes on there. And then once you install your plate and everything, this is all going to be flat, and then it supports the front of this so it won't budge. Actually, I'm going to keep this on so we can assume that it's all installed. This is the easy part. You're just getting rid of the voids. The back and that rear design, again, all the different companies have their own ideas of how they should work. Okay, so on the back, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate the stock design versus my design. So let's simulate exactly what it looks like stock. You got your bolt, it comes up here, and then check this out. See? There's all kinds of slop there. So when you put this in, you know, this cradle can move anywhere. It can move all over the place. So you have that, and then I'm going to put this down so I can simulate that being the chassis of the car. There we go. And then see, like I was saying, look at all that movement you have. So let's tighten it here. Boom, we're tight. Now I'm going to put some significant pressure on it so we can do apples to apples here. Okay, super tight. All right. So when you're looking at the stock design with no bushing, no lockout, nothing. See the void there? See that void? Again, that's what this fills. See? I have no idea where that cut off at, so I'm going to go back over what we're doing here. It's after hours, so I get to drink some beer. So here's what I was going over. The factory design has a large gap here, which these pieces, that piece right there fills that void vertically. And then we have this void. This simulates the chassis. That's exactly how it mounts to the chassis. So there's that void right there. That's what we fill. And then I was getting into the deflection here. I mean, I'm barely even, that's just my fingertip. I don't know if you can see how much that deflects, but that's just twisting it. I mean, it bounces all over the place under acceleration. There's been BMR Steeda, everybody has a bunch of videos out there. You can see how much this thing bounces around. Now on the other side, we'll go ahead and do my IRS subframe to chassis stud kit, just because it's easier to clamp it down over here with this. And then we're going to do my system installed on this. So this comes off, this goes in the bottom, goes up. This is going to come on the top here, and then we're going to use this to simulate the chassis on this side. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's all we need. So All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a real good comparison, real quick comparison on a couple of the benefits of my stud kit too. I'm going to tighten this down. Now this one's a little bit different. It doesn't lock because it actually kind of preloads the bushing a little bit to make everything fit really tight. Okay. So now this one is like rock solid. I mean, when that is installed, there's no movement. So again, on this side, you got that gap there. On this side, you don't have any gap there because this piece is under there. So you've eliminated the whole, this is the chassis, the bottom of this is the chassis. You've eliminated that whole void there. So it's perfectly flush. This cannot go up. Well, it also cannot go down, and I'll show you that. So again, on this side, you have that. On this side, you have that. So if you look in there, you'll see the sleeve is touching the billet. Here's supporting the bushing. Here's supporting the bushing. You can see in, I mean, it's such a beautiful design. There is no, I mean, it's solid. You can't even, it doesn't move. It's locked out solid. So again, there is that sleeve up there, or that ring that has locked that movement out. This movement's locked out. So again, on the front, you've locked that top out, you've locked that bottom out. This will not move. Now, disclaimer, I call it a posi lock system. That comes from me basically saying you're positively locating this. It's got the centering lugs, it squares it, and it also locates it vertically to where it won't move. Under extreme conditions, you can have movement, because I don't do the, like some of the other kits, again, that I help design basically, I don't 100% lock it out because I don't believe that it's needed. That's all I'm saying. So I don't believe, I mean, in that case, if you really want to lock it out solid, you could get one of the other kits, or you can put a solid bushing kit in here. But this thing isn't moving. I mean, I'm telling you, like when you get this thing bolted in, it's very, very firm. One of, I guess I can say my competitors has, you know, they brag about having like a little drop down here. So it just kind of drops down a little bit and fills that. That doesn't do anything. I'm telling you right now, that doesn't do a damn thing. BMR is the only company that has a design that kind of goes above and beyond this, and it comes over this, and then it drops down and locks this lip. So it basically locks it out totally. Now that's awesome horizontally and laterally and stuff, but most of my customers don't really care about loading up their subframe laterally, okay? So for an all-around kit, the BMR kit with the rings that drop down around the cradle and stuff are nice. Now the flip side of that is, and I'm just calling a spade, sometimes they're noisy. See this weld right here? As a matter of fact, on this cradle right here, the BMR kit could probably cause some issues because it comes down around this piece, but then boom, there's a weld here. So sometimes, see how it tries to slide out on you? That ring can hit that, and it causes it not to sit flush. It cocks it, so then you can have some metal on metal creaking. It's not a bad thing. I mean, when I was at BMR and I would catch this issue, I would have people grind or whatever. The moral of the story is I wanted something simple, cost-effective, beautiful. They're all black anodized billet aluminum. They fill the voids. They do their job. I've been testing it on this car. It's 1.4 60-foot car. Doesn't wheel hop. I make about 1,000 horsepower right now on those 19s. It hooks. It does great. Doesn't wheel hop. This kit, it works really, really good. Now I'm going to get into my stud kit real quick because I offer for an additional upgrade fee, which is cheaper than buying the stud kit and my Posi-Lock system. I think it's $319.99, and it comes with 4 zinc-coated studs, 4 zinc-coated nuts. It comes with 8 zinc-coated washers. I would say not a large, but a medium, and then a smaller one here, but the smaller one's real thick. It comes with I don't have it laid out. It comes with anti-seize, and it comes with a tap in case the main reason that people buy my stud kit is because, and you shoot, I mean, this is one of my 17 bolts I got laying around here. These things get torn up, seriously, these threads. And then they have this little section here, it's kind of a sign that these things have issues when they go in and out, when they have that for the metal that have like a channel there. And then they're shaped like this for easy assembly, so they can go up and they can get them right. But the problem is I have a lot of customers that cross thread these. It's an M14. People end up having to go to the store, get taps and all that stuff. Anyways, I send that to you in case you need it with anti-seize. I send you the studs. Basically, all you do is you take the stud, you put a little bit of anti-seize on this end, and you just turn it by hand until it starts to give you some pressure. And then again, that's a good reference, about like that when you get everything on. But yeah, you're going to have full engagement, and it's going to be a little bit more than this. So the heights are going to be they're going to be kind of similar, but this stops here, where this one's going to actually provide more thread engagement. And then you should never have to unthread it again. You just unthread the nut. If you need to, also, you can take a double nut and you can put it on there to help. Sometimes people can't figure out how to do the stud. But that kit's awesome. One of the really cool things about it is if you look at this side, it stops here. So on this side, you can bolt like a tow hook to it. There's actually something else I'm coming out with that's going to mount to this. It's going to be probably later this year. It's a really trick piece. It's drag race related. I can't wait to finish the design up, but it's going to utilize this. So you're going to have to use my stud kit to use this new suspension part that I'm coming out with. But additionally, one of the things I like the most about this kit is that I work on my rear subframe a lot. I'm always tweaking, trying out new stuff, aligning it differently, etc. The cool thing about this kit is you can take this, you can loosen this up, and then you can drop it down. Actually, I'm going to show you. This is so cool. This is actually one of the main reasons. Years ago, I played around with changing the geometry of the subframe, and this is one of the ways that I did it. And then I knew when I did it that I always knew I was going to have one of these kits available, because I rigged one up on my first S550. So let's say that this nut is the chassis of the car, and you want to hang on to the last couple threads. Watch this. So this is still hanging in the chassis, just barely. You can even do it more. Let's go more. There you go. You're in there 2.5 threads, okay? Look at how far you can bring the cradle down. Look at that. You can legit have the cradle on all 4 corners come down like 4.5 inches. I don't know if those of you watching have done that, but it is amazing. Helps you do your diff bushings. I know some of you have cussed for hours trying to do your through bolts and stuff on your diffs. That stud kit is awesome, because you can do what I just showed you, unthread this until it's only in the 2 or 3 threads. You can even take that off. So now look at that distance that you have. You can set this metal here all the way down there. So you're dropping the whole cradle down, and it allows you to get to everything, your camber links, whatever you want to install. Now the cool thing about that is also that if you have like the front centering sleeves from Steeder or BMR or UPR or J&M or Hot Part or Zing Zhang and everybody else out there, you can do that, and it'll come down and slide down on those sleeves, and then when you run it all back up, it's still going to be aligned. So there's a lot of different things that you can take advantage of having this kit. Anything that you need to do, you could take, like if you're doing your half shafts, if you want to change a ring and pinion gear ratio and you want easier access to get things out, this stud kit helps tremendously. I don't really recommend it to everybody though. It's usually racers. They're the ones that can benefit from it the most. That should do it. Let me go over real quick again what you're going to get in this kit. I'm not going to go over the studded kit just because it's an IRS stud kit. I don't have to go into crazy details on that. I just want to make sure that you guys know exactly what you're getting with my Posi-Lock system. And again, call it the Posi lock because it positively locates the cradle within the chassis or the subframe. Alright, I hear dogs barking, so something must be going on out there. Alright, so 2, 4, 6, 8-piece kit. Rear lowers, again, replaces the stock bushing stop washer plate. Okay, you can see where the rubber stops rest on that. These replace the rear lowers. The rear uppers are going to be the thin ones. They go on top. The small, thicker are going to go on the front upper. The large, thicker are going to go on the front lower. And that's it. Alright guys, I got some new stuff in the pipeline. Got a really cool, innovative rear bushing kit because even this car has a cracked diff bushing now. That's really the main reason that I'm doing it. I developed a very innovative diff bushing kit, and hopefully I can be doing a video soon for that. It's basically going to be a spherical bearing kit, so it allows the rear end to rotate. It doesn't put bending loads in the ears and the bolts. It allows it to rotate in the back, and then the front, I'm probably just going to tell everybody to use the stock bushings because they don't, I mean, they deflect a lot, but if you have the rear on a plane that doesn't drop and pivot, then it'll help this bushing work better. And then the other thing is I'm actually considering providing some type of poly or some type of injectable material. So basically you do my rear spherical bearings, and then the front I'll come up with some cool trick on how to fill these voids up. So that should increase the effective durometer by at least 10 to 15, maybe 20%, maybe even more if I do some type of epoxy. So I'm going to experiment with that. I test everything on this car right here. A stick shift, 1,000 horsepower car. That's what I test everything on. Minimal mods, couple BMR mods. I got my Keltrack spec shocks and coilovers. Now, of course, I've been testing these. Next move is to do this. I'm putting a Detroit, I got it over there. I'm putting a Detroit TrueTrack in it with a 456 gear. So that should be real fun. That's about it. Stay tuned, and thank you guys for who support me and allow me to do this. Talk to you later.